Welcome to the Video Game Timeline Show. I'm Jack.
And I'm Evan.
And today we're talking even more about arcade games.
I mean, I feel like that's what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of episodes, right? Is that arcades were a big deal in the beginning of video games, and arcades were good, and we finally got into good video games to talk about. So
yeah, so next episode I'll say we're talking about even more arcade games.
Okay, right. It's just always even. It's like great grandmother.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just how it works. That's the logical conclusion that we should make.
Okay, all right.
So, should we jump into the first one?
Gunfight, November 1975.
Yeah, or Western Gun in Japan.
Oh yeah, I had this down as the it's a Western. Gunfight is like a Western game, you know, so Wild West, cowboys, and all that stuff. And then Japan, it's like Western Gun, you know, it's really cool.
It is. I think Western Gun is a better name than Gunfight.
But I found that apparently the American audience wouldn't have understood that. So, you know, they fight with guns.
That's stupid because they call them Westerns in America.
Yeah, no, it was Japanese, isn't it?
Well, it was designed by our good friend, not that we know him, but Tomohiro Nishikado.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do, because last time I said that he was the creator of Space Invaders, but now I can also say that he's the creator of Speed Race, because people will know what that is.
If they listen to the previous episode. You don't have to listen to every episode, I don't think.
No, you don't. But if you did, you'll know that he's the creator of Speed Race and Space Invaders.
And Gunfight.
Well, he created Western Gun, and then it got brought over to...
Yeah, so it was made by Taito, and then Midway Games ported it to the US in a deal with Taito.
Yes, yeah. First game to depict human-to-human combat.
Yeah, as in human-to-human, not involving a spaceship or something like that. It's just a human and another human. So we had Tank, right, in the previous episode, which was tanks fighting tanks, which I assume had humans in the tanks. But this one is a human, not in a tank, not in a spaceship.
I think it's like one human fights. You can actually see the blood come out of your opponent.
I don't think there was blood.
No, there was. I mean, if you were a real human, you'd see your opponent die in front of you, rather than just a tank explode or a spaceship explode.
You might if a spaceship explodes, can you not see? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So Gunfight is a 2D side sort of thing. So if you imagine like a modern day 2D fighter, like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or something like that, where you look at side on against the characters, and you've got one, what would you call them? Like gunslinger to the left and one like gunslinger to the right.
Well,
like one player controls the one on the left and one player controls the one on the right.
Yes, yeah, and that's exactly how I describe it. Now, the differences between Gunfight and Western Gun, there's quite a few of them.
Oh, is there?
Yes, yeah, they're really quite different. And because of that, I think this should not necessarily be completely split into two separate games, but there's enough difference between them for us to kind of talk a little bit about. So you said, you're completely right that there's guns, like a cowboy on one side and a cowboy on another side, and there's obstacles. Now, in Gunfight, which is the American version, you've got kind of like a track in the middle of cactuses, stagecoaches. Was there anything else?
Well, I've played Gunfight, and so I don't know anything about Western Gun, and I just assumed it was the same. But Gunfight is all about shooting the other person in the same way to like sort of Tank in the previous episode, where you can just move about, shoot. You can aim up, down, to the straight ahead, and you can move your character around as well. But you can't move forward so far. There's like a limit to how far close to the opponent you can actually walk.
Yeah, you're stuck on your side of the screen.
Yeah. And you've only got 6 bullets. And there are some obstacles, but each time somebody gets hit, it moves on to the next room with different obstacles in it each time. So sometimes that's some wagon walking through, and sometimes it's a cactus, and sometimes it's just a wall. But it changes each time. So if you're playing like really quick and you're shooting the other person and they're getting hit like every second, you'll be moving to a different room every second.
Yes.
With different obstacles.
Yeah. But the difference between what you just described and Western Gun is that in Gunfight, like you just said, you're kind of stuck to your side of the screen. In Western Gun, you can move anywhere on the screen.
Can you shoot backwards? You can't shoot backwards in Gunfight.
You can shoot in 8 directions.
In Western Gun?
Yes.
That's so different. That's like Tank. That's a very different game.
Yeah, well, it's also I don't necessarily agree with this statement, but a lot of people call it the first open world game.
What?
Because you can go anywhere, and there's mountains that are littered across the kind of scenery, And there's cactuses, and there's kind of stagecoaches and things as
The way
well.
you're describing it, we need to be clear as well. This is the characters are like 8-bit pixelated single color depictions of cowboys.
Oh yeah,
It's not like high definition mountain ranges, I'm assuming, in Western Gun.
no, they're triangles.
Right, okay, good, yeah.
They're brown triangles. But the biggest difference between them is that not only that, but also that Gunfight had much better graphics. So while you've just described
Gunfight had terrible. I've played Gunfight. It has terrible graphics. So Western Gun must be just an abomination.
So you've got better graphics with Gunfight and smoother animation with Gunfight, but you miss out on
What
that.
animation? What? No. I've played Gunfight. There's no animation. Like, your arm will move up when you aim up, but there's no animation between it. It just goes duck.
The animation of like the bullet going across the screen, the animation of that arm movement, the animation of the stagecoach. There's also animation in Gunfight.
It's like PowerPoint slide transitions, though.
It's quite quick. The bullet is quite quick.
Yeah.
Well, imagine, okay, if it's power,
But
imagine
is it
a slow...
Gun? Is it like moving from tile to tile, like j.
It's not that bad, but it's not as nice as Gunfight. So you kind of end up swapping gameplay for graphics.
For tech, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's like putting it into performance mode or graphics mode.
Right. I always do performance mode.
Well, then you'd prefer Gunfight.
I thought you said that Western Gun was the... Well, Gunfight's got the better graphics, right?
Better graphics and better animation.
But you just said that it's like having graphic mode or performance mode. But in this case, you're saying Gunfight has better both.
Well, I guess it does have better graphics and performance, but it has lacking gameplay.
I don't think that's comparable in your analogy.
No, I think it's completely fallen apart already. Going back to what you said, though, 6 bullets and the round ends if you run out of ammo. But what was cool is you can ricochet bullets off kind of the edge and the top of the screen.
Have you ever played those like Flash games? I don't know what they call, just Ricochet. It was basically this. Flash is gone now, isn't it? But
It is.
It was basically this. It was the idea you could like shoot bullets on the ground and it would ricochet around. I guess it's like Gunfight.
Probably where they got the idea. I did see that in Gunfight, one cool thing was if you beat your opponent, there's a chance that you'll get a special screen that says, "Hey, partner, you've got credit," and you'll get a free go.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'll
I'll be well happy with that if you rock up down to the arcade with your last coin and you're like, I've only got one go, and you get 2 goes. Hooray!
Yeah, it's so good. And it was also, was a massive success. Highest grossing game in 1976. Sorry, third highest grossing game.
Wait, what were the other 2?
It was just behind Speed Race, and then I think it was still Pong at number 1.
Classic Pong.
But it was pretty fun to play. I mean, do you have anything else you want to say about how good it is? I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
I don't know why you're like coming in here guns blazing like it was amazing. I thought it was reasonably boring. The only thing I thought that was really good about it was that if you kill someone, which, hopefully you do, it plays like the funeral music, like da 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 da.
That only happens on an emulator. That doesn't happen in the actual official version.
Is that true?
Yes. Yeah.
Why would that be the case?
I'm not sure, but it would have been the first use of Chopin's funeral march in a video game. So I went and kind of searched to see if that was the case. And Gunfight does have credit as probably the first game to use chiptune music. But in its startup sequence, the original cabinet didn't have the funeral march at all. For some reason, it was added to ROMs of the game for emulator.
That's an absolute letdown. If that's true, then that was the best thing about Gunfight, and that's an absolute letdown. And that's cheeky for them doing that to ROMs.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but it's not in the kind of official cabinet release of the game. I don't know if it was on a port to any potential consoles or anything, but it wasn't in the original cabinet to have that funeral march. But it did have the first use of the game over screen.
Did it?
Yeah, if that means anything to you.
Because when you kill someone, it just immediately moves to the next room, and then you're doing it again.
Not in there might be another ROM-based thing, but in the actual.
No, I don't think that's true, because in the actual thing, you're given like 60 seconds to play the game.
But when those 6 seconds are up, or when you use all your bullet, when those 60 seconds are up, obviously it ends and you have to insert more credits. When you need to insert more credits, it says game over.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
But you could have won. Game over should be a sad thing. If you're like, yeah, I just destroyed my mate, and then it's like game over. It's like, well, I Game over. I guess game over is a neutral term. It's just like game's over, buddy.
Well, yeah, I think it was meant to be. I think that's literally what it was meant to be. It's meant to be the game is over. Put in more money. Give me more money.
What, just in a robot voice? Game is over.
Yes, I suppose so. One thing you didn't say is when you shoot someone and the character falls to the ground, some words appear that say "got me."
Okay, is that a big? Is that gasp? Wow.
Something, isn't it?
The
Something.
only thing I thought that was cool about Gunfight, to be honest, if the death music wasn't a thing, is the fact that their arms do actually move. That in the previous episode you were saying how basketball was this game that was the first thing to have sprites or whatever, but they didn't have any animation. The fact that in Gunfight their arms actually move looks like what I think of a sprite, or like, early video games.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It definitely does give it a bit more life to it than just the jumping up and down of basketball, which is just a sprite being literally moved like a couple of pixels up and then a couple of pixels down.
I don't necessarily think that Gunfight was amazing though. It seems a little bit two-dimensional.
I think I'm just still on a high from getting away from everything that was so bad that even something that is very primitive. I mean, I actually thought this was a lot like Pong. It's like Pong, but you have to hit the other paddle. Because the bullets ricochet off the edges, it felt very Pong-like.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Ricochet is quite a early gamey concept, isn't it? It's quite cool.
I think it. Yeah, I wonder if that's because it was easier to code it that way. Can't have been.
Well, I guess the options are what else happens when it hits the side of a wall. It's just
disappears.
Fine as well, right?
Yeah, but I guess it wouldn't be as fun because you can't have like trick shots. Not that I guess you can really call a single ricochet because you can only ricochet once.
Ricochet is a trick shot. If I get hit by a ricochet, I'd be way more like, oh wow, it was sick than just a regular old blap.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you want to do a cabinet review?
Oh, I've not seen. I'm gonna have to tippy tappy. I've not seen.
No, I'll describe it to you.
Okay.
That's how we do the box art. So that's how we'll do the cabinets as well. So one kind of cool thing about this is that the creator Nishikado wanted to actually tell a story with the game.
It's not a narrative story game. It's a single.
Yeah, it's just two dudes shooting. But he wanted he saw two dudes shoot. Where we see two dudes shooting, he saw a tapestry ready to be woven. But there's no cutscenes, and they don't have the capability to do cutscenes. So he thought, I'm going to put all of the story on the cabinet.
May as well just written a book or drawn like a children's book, right? I don't.
Well, he tells the story of these. I mean, this is sort of in his own words. He kind of wanted to tell the story of two anime-inspired cowboys in a constant and eternal struggle.
It is constant and eternal. If you're set up in an arcade, right, that's all you're going to be doing forever, is just shooting the other person.
Yeah, I mean, it's very Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, this is the coolest cabinet we've seen. Now, I'm going to describe it to you. It is the best. It's the best one we've seen.
I've not seen it, so it's the best one you might have seen, but I've not seen it.
Well, you're going to see it in a minute, and you're going to see it in your mind right now.
See it in my mind. Yeah, okay.
So, cabinet is upright, like all the ones we've seen so far, but it's got a...
It would not be upright if you pushed it on the floor.
That's true, but it intentionally, it's upright.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to start with the actual controllers. Both players have two joysticks. One of them is for moving the actual cowboy around, and the other one is for shooting. Now, the moving the cowboy around joystick looks like a standard joystick that we've kind of discussed before, or like an Atari 2600 joystick. Not so interesting. The shoot joystick is modeled like a revolver handle with an actual trigger. and it looks so good. And I can just imagine like being, if you're like 7 or 8 years old and you go to the arcade, and then that's like, it would obviously now it wouldn't feel like anything, but at the time it would be like you're actually holding a proper gun and you're actually shooting this other cowboy on the other side of the screen.
Now it wouldn't feel like anything. There's not guns everywhere just lying around now.
Do you not have some? I've got like a whole load just right here next to me. Got a whole pile of guns.
I've not seen that. Okay. All right.
But the cabinet itself is this dark oak wood. It looks like a saloon almost, like in that kind of dark western kind of oak wood color,
like the double doors that they like push through, and everyone.
Well, just imagine the color of those double doors. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then it's got loads of bullets all over the side that have like a trail behind them, just like how when a plane flies, it leaves like a trail behind it. But there's bullets all over it.
Trails, yeah.
Yeah, leaving. leaving a trail. And those make kind of obviously shapes when they cross over each other. And then some of those like polygons are colored in different colors.
Wait,
So-
I'm lost. Hang on. So there's the chemtrails are crossing over each other to make shapes.
Yes. And then some of those shapes are colored in.
The in-betweeny bits of
Yes. So imagine
line.
if you went onto like Microsoft Paint and you drew a bunch of lines, and then you got the paint bucket tool and you just clicked on a bunch of those empty spaces. So some of them are colored in, and then there's a bunch of just cowboys shooting at each other.
More than two?
No, there's more than two, but they are the same two cowboys.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, very Cowboy Bebop looking.
I've not actually seen Cowboy.
Ooh, they just look like if I said cowboy and I said anime and then I said smash them together. There you go.
Okay. All right. Cool.
It's very, very cool looking.
What color is it?
It's
Brown
and red and yellow. You know what? I'm gonna send it to you now.
All right. Cool.
I'm gonna send you. Don't. Yeah.
Don't what?
There you go. I've sent you two. I want to hear your initial reaction.
But you can't be my initial reaction because you sent it to me one and then said don't say anything and then okay. Anyway, it looks a lot more modern than I thought it was gonna look. When you said that, there was like all the polygons. I was like, oh, it looks all ye olde fashioned, but it looks quite artistic.
It looks really cool, and you can see the kind of revolver handle there as well.
This is not what I imagined when you said what you said. This is way cooler than what you said.
Well, then take everything I've just said and make it cooler.
Yeah. Oh, so when you said the revolver, the joysticks that is the revolver, it's only the revolver handle. It's missing the gun part of the revolver.
Yes. Yeah, I did say it was just the revolver handle.
Okay, all right. I obviously completely ignored you there then.
Well, you were probably just really hyped on the fact that I said that it looks like a revolver.
Arcade cabinets just look beautiful in some weird way. I know that they're all scuffed and old and broken by this point in real life, but they're quite charming. I really do like them.
They're really charming. I would love to. It's so hard to find, modern day arcades that have all of them already set up and lit up and everything. But it would just be so cool to be able to go to an arcade like that and see all of them lit up.
But they're normally like collector tickets rather.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. They're also really hard to get to. There's not that many around, at least in the UK.
I don't have this experience because there was an arcade quite near me when I was growing up.
What, that had all these cabinets like this, or was it just a normal modern day arcade?
I don't know what's the difference between a normal modern day arcade.
So did it? Because I've been to normal modern day arcades that have like claw hand grabber machines and the basketball thing. No, but I mean like an old arcade that has just arcade cabinet video games.
No, I'm not really into. But even the modern day normal ones that have got claw handle and like whatever, they often have video game arcades in them as well.
I know, but those are modern video games.
You want the oldie ones, like the old ones.
I want to walk through kind of past the threshold in a building and feel like I'm now in an arcade in let's say exactly 1980.
Video games in the 70s were way better than games today.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I just do not have that experience, and I wish I could have that experience.
Yeah, me too. But then I reckon it was probably crap.
I don't think it was at the time. At the time, it definitely wasn't.
No, at the time there was nothing better to do.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we rank them.
Okay. Shall we move on to Outlaw?
Yeah, we can do. You can tell me a bit more about this because I don't have that much to talk about it. I know that it was
Outlaw is sick. So Gunfight. So at this point in time, there's basically two big video game companies. There's Taito, which is Gunfight, and when that happened, Atari, the other big game company, was like, they can't be having a Western gun shooting game when we've not got a Western gun shooting game on the market. We need a Western gun machine on the market, and so in the next year, which is bumping over to 1976 now, but they released a Western gun shooting game, and it's way better than Gunfight. Like, I swear, it's way better than Gunfight. It's only a single player game, sort of, but in this one, you are looking at an arcade cabinet, and do you know what, like Duck Hunt, where you like you have an actual light gun, like a digital gun that you shoot the screen with?
Yes.
It had one of those, like Outlaw in 1976.
Whoa.
And the actual gun that you have that you're shooting the screen with looks like an actual revolver. You said that Gunfight's handle looks like a revolver. It's just the handle of a gun. This is an entire revolver that just looks like a revolver. It doesn't look like some digital, plasticky, video gamey gun. It's like a revolver.
It's not like House of the Dead where you've got a kind of this massive
No.
two-handed.
No. It's like this is like a revolver. Just
Okay, so they took a revolver and they took out all the guts and they stuck light gun guts in there.
I don't know if that's exactly what they did, but it looks a little bit like that.
Right, okay. I know that you choose between two characters.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I just want to say, like, so light guns, by the way, did already exist before Outlaw because Sega had light gun games that were not video games, that were just mechanical, switches and like pinball sort of thing.
Wait, isn't Sonic Sega? Sega Sonic?
Sonic Sega at this time had, I think it was called a game called Periscope, but it was a physical machine. It was not it was electronic, but it wasn't digital or it wasn't a video game that had a light gun. So this wasn't the only light gun thing on the market, but to have it in video game form is pretty cool.
That's cool.
What happens is on the sort of digital screen, and there's a whole town that's sort of laid out. It's almost top down. It's not quite top down. It's sort of like half top down. I don't know what you would call that. Like it's like you're stood on like a high building and you're looking over this town. Or this old western town.
Like an isometric view, almost?
I don't know what that word means.
Think of things like Hades or Transistor.
I don't know what these are.
Or Bastion.
Not played it. It's the sort of view I'd imagine you have if you were a bird.
So it's a bird's eye view.
Not quite bird's eye view. You're high up as if you were on the top floor of a building looking down at the rest of the town.
So it's like a 45-degree angle view.
Yes.
Got it.
And
got it. Okay. Got there at the end, somewhat.
The whole town's sort of etched out already on the screen. It's not like digital, it's just drawn on.
Okay.
An outlaw will at some point come out from one of the buildings and walk around in the town street and will then turn and shoot you. Be like, draw, bang. And you have to shoot him before he shoots you. And so it's sort of the gun will be in a holster and you have to pull the gun out and aim at him and shoot when it says draw. Or doesn't say draw, but it's like you can't do it too quick, you get penalised, you can't do it too late because you'll die. You don't literally die, but your character in game will die, which is first person. But anyway, so the outlaw walks around, and then it's first person to shoot the other person.
Okay, I'm going to need you to give me some kind of idea of graphics here, because I'm imagining a 3D dude walks out from behind a building, which I know isn't the case, but what is it? What are we looking like here?
Do you know like Game & Watch type stuff, where it's like a black like outline of a person, and it's pixelated, and that pixelated person is moving out from sort of a hand-drawn pixelated town. And so it'll be there'll be like a street, and on the left-hand side is a bunch of buildings all pixelated, and on the right-hand side a bunch of buildings all sort of pixelated.
Okay, that's actually really cool. That's actually much cooler than Gunfight or Western Gun.
I thought so. I didn't get to play it because I don't have a light gun that I just have lying around, right? But I would love to have played this.
Yeah, no, that does sound a lot of fun. It sounds like, I don't want to kind of reference, as I know it's so different to it, but I know it's so different to something like House of the Dead, but it basically is the first iteration of that type of arcade game.
I mean, light guns in general sort of lend themselves to that, right? But I think in this you're not moving forwards. Like, so games like House of the Dead nowadays are like on the rails, but you're moving forward, whereas this one is more. I always get the feeling like you're meant to imagine that the outlaw has the same image in his head, because the outlaw gets a score as well. So if he kills you, he gets a point. If you kill him, you get a point. And it's like you're playing against the digital outlaw.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize that the outlaw would get points. That is actually really cool.
I know. I thought this was amazing. I just thought it was funny as well that Taito and Atari had this little competition going on. They're like, we both need to make this game. We both need to have the market cornered. So if anybody has just the genre of Western, all right, that's it. We need a Western too. I thought it was funny.
That is funny. And does that happen today? I can't think if that happens with things today.
I mean, it does to an extent. I mean, I've already mentioned it before on the show, but Fortnite came out, and then every company's like, "We need a battle royale."
That's true. Yeah. Well, I guess it's one that's won't be. It's relevant right now, but it won't be relevant in the future. But basically, as this is being recorded, Cyberpunk 2077 just kind of came out last week or so. But just before it came out, there was a huge influx of cyberpunk games.
Was there?
Yeah, there was Ghost Runner. There was something net something. There were quite a few, all just trying to cash in on the hype surrounding Cyberpunk 2077 and kind of in the period between, especially when it got delayed in the summer to the winter. In that period of it's just been delayed, let's release a bunch of stuff to quench people's thirst for the cyberpunk genre and cash in on all that money.
The thing is, zombies. Zombies were like a big thing, like 5 years ago in TV as well. But every game has some zombie mode, right? And
that's true. Zombies was a big deal. I mean, this game looks awesome.
It's like I was like, it is definitely from 1976, right? Hang on a minute. Outlaw game.
76. Yeah. Originally released in 1976. One thing that you haven't mentioned, that this is basically the only thing I know about the game, which actually makes it seem even cooler based on what you've told me, is that you could choose between two characters when you started. When you put your coin in, given the choice of two characters, you get half fast Pete or Billy the Kid, and Pete is more accurate while Billy can draw faster.
Is this true? So one of the things that we need to be careful here is that Outlaw got remade on the Atari 2600.
Yes.
And we're not talking about that one.
No, we're talking about the cabinet.
Okay, all right. I didn't know there was two different characters. That's cool.
Yeah, and then it's not until, you mentioned it was single player. It wasn't until the Atari version that they added like multiplayer modes and things like that.
Completely different game though.
Yeah, it is completely different. It's completely different. I'm just mentioning that so that if anyone goes and looks into it further, they know that if they find one that has multiplayer, that's the Atari one, whereas this is the cabinet one.
Yeah.
Cabinet review time?
Oh, I don't know. I do know what this cabinet looks like, but I don't remember. Let me go.
Do 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 do.
Okay, all right. Okay, anyway, so Outlaw, I think, is a more disappointing cabinet than Gunfight, in that on the side, it's mostly plain brown, except it's got like a little logo with the word Outlaw sort of higher up in the middle. It seems a lot more bland. I mean, it can get away with being bland, given that it's got a whole gun attached to the front of the cabinet.
Yeah. I actually find it very surprising that they put so much work into the side panels anyway, because when I think of arcades, I think of a whole row of arcade machines stuck next to each other, and you can't see the side of the cabinet anyway.
Yeah, that is true, yeah.
But maybe back in the day, maybe that's just film and television that is like glorifying these like super ultra mega awesome arcades, and in reality, arcades just had maybe like 2 or 3 cabinets, and it wasn't like how we've come to imagine it now. You know what we're gonna have to do?
Travel back in time.
Let's go.
I don't know how to do that.
Woo.
I don't want a roleplay podcast. So
okay.
Let's move on.
Go back forward in time.
No.
Could you tell me about the cabinet?
The side is mostly just brown with a little logo of Outlaw, and on the front is the front is a little bit more interesting. So you've got the gun like lower down, and then around the screen, it's mostly blue, which is like blue skies, and then there's sort of, I don't know what you would call that, but like the Wild West sort of coloured in or drawn in as like a brown background as well. Can you help me out here? I'm struggling to come up with the words to describe this.
I mean, it's just, I mean, you've described it pretty well. You've got, I'm going to say the same thing as you. The front, we won't describe the side because you described it twice now, but the front just has 2 cowboys. I imagine one is like a sheriff or a cowboy thing, and the other one is the outlaw. You've got Outlaw in big bubble text at the top, a blue background.
Where are the 2 cowboys? I don't see the. Oh, you mean on the side?
Either side of the screen, yeah.
I don't know. I don't see that.
There are 2 cowboys either side of the screen.
I do not see that.
You've got the screen, and then you've got Outlaw above it, and then to either side you've got a man in red and a man in white.
You know, I understand what you're saying, but I don't see that.
What? There are no 2 men. I was being fooled into thinking that those like Mesa is that a term? Like Mesa cliffs? They're like bluffs. They're bluffs.
Bluffs. Okay, I don't know.
They're bluffs. And it looks like it's been done in paint.
It looks like it's drawn in paint. It looks like it's drawn in paint. A good paint drawing, like a really good paint drawing, but it looks like it's drawn in paint.
Yeah, or Line Rider.
That's quite a niche reference, but Line Rider was pretty cool. Yeah, so even though the gun is very cool and the game I think is very cool, I actually think this is one of the first examples that we've seen of an arcade cabinet case that's not super beautiful.
Yeah, I don't really care for this one.
Yeah.
But I do care for the gun.
Yeah, the gun. Guns are cool.
Give me gun. How are you all doing? It's me, Jack, here once again to interrupt your listening with some quick messages. If you're a regular listener, I want to say thank you for your continued support of the podcast. Don't forget to come and join our Discord if you haven't yet. The link is in the show notes. And if you're brand new, welcome. We hope you have loads of fun here with Evan and I as we go through the entire timeline of video games. We've also got Facebook and Twitter pages for everyone to check out as well. Get involved in the community and also find out when new episodes go live. And on that note, our next episode will be coming out in 2021, on January 13th to be specific. We'll see you then, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Should we talk about Nürburgring?
You mean Nürburgring?
Did you Google how to pronounce that?
No, I'm just a genius. Yes, I searched how to pronounce it.
I was just like, I'm sure Jack will know how to pronounce this.
This one's quite interesting. I know that you mentioned to me before we started recording that you haven't got much on it.
I've got like nothing on it because, as far as I can tell, this game has been lost to time because another game came out later that sort of.
Well, it somewhat has been, but it was also never meant to be a game.
No.
So it was created by a guy called Dr. Rainer Forst. And
is he German? Because the name's German, right?
He is German, yes, yeah. He's German. The Nürburgring is an actual like a racetrack.
Racing game, by the way. Disclaimer.
Yeah, it's a racing game. This is a first-person racing game, and it was the first first-person racing game. So this is kind of like the grandfather of things like Forza or Gran Turismo. And I actually also don't think it's that bad looking for what it is.
What, the case of the game?
The game.
I'm going to have to jump ahead so that I can actually get involved in the discussion. But basically, the reason I don't know much about Nürburgring is this game inspired another game by Atari called Night Driver.
Yeah, because as we know, Atari cannot let anyone have a game that they don't have themselves.
But in this case, Night Driver is basically the exact same game. Whereas Outlaw to Gunfight was like an inspired. This is like they saw a promotional flyer from them still developing Nürburgring, and then we're just like, okay, we can do that quicker than them because we've got better game tech. So I will then be talking about Night Driver, but feel free to talk about Nürburgring.
In particular, Nürburgring 1. So this doctor, this German doctor, wasn't interested in video games at all. He just wanted to create a driving simulator. And his first port of call was to go to basically see what other people were doing in the driving simulation world. Volkswagen were using this very fancy simulator, and he wanted to do it, but what Volkswagen were doing was way too expensive. And because Kickstarter didn't exist yet, in order to raise money, he made like a basic arcade version of the simulator. But then he realized he didn't know how to make an arcade version of the simulator. So he went and so he's now kind of screwed on to. He wants a really fancy simulator, but he can't afford it. And he also is thinking, I'm going to make it into an arcade game to raise funds, but doesn't know how to make an arcade game. So he goes out, and with the money that he has, he buys a Pong cabinet.
Well, I didn't know this. This is cool.
And he looks inside the Pong cabinet, and he basically rips it apart to figure out how Pong works. Because Pong didn't have a CPU, as we kind of have mentioned before, what it did have is what are called discrete dedicated circuits, just very kind of intricately put together circuits that make the game work. Now, Pong has one of these circuits. Nürburgring 1, on the other hand, has 28.
So it's 28 times better than Pong.
Yeah, it's 28 times more powerful than Pong. So he kind of created this shell of a game from this Pong cabinet. It was originally built within a Pong cabinet, the kind of first draft.
Did it still have Pong branding on it?
It did.
Ooh.
But he was just keeping it. It was at home. It was his impersonal home. So he wasn't distributing at that point. But he did then use that to get the funds to create a few more. And I'll just describe how the game looks. So you've got kind of like a road with rectangular posts on either side of the road that kind of determine what that road is. And as you kind of move forward, obviously it's in first person. So you're kind of driving between these white posts as you go. Now, the way that they didn't model kind of like a dashboard or anything. It was all kind of just a vinyl application that they put on top, as well as like the bonnet of the car, so that you could see where your car is moving, but they don't actually do anything.
Yeah, I guess that's a similar way to sort of Outlaw, where they just stick a sticker for the scenery and then.
Yeah, and they did the same thing for Night Driver as well.
And the little white posts are like all there is on the screen, right? And it's again like an optical illusion that makes you think you're driving down a road just by where these white posts move. But that is these white posts are all there are on the screen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Speaking of Night Driver, though, which is essentially the same game, it actually works quite well here. In previous games we've talked about that do sort of 3D effects via like optical illusions, I don't think they work that well. But Night Driver, and I assume works fantastically.
yeah. No, that it is so good, and it feels fast.
It feels, oh my god, like, so I've played quite a lot of this Night Driver, and by quite a lot I mean for a game this old, quite a lot, and it's so fast. It feels like you feel so fast, like the same way that if you ever, I don't know, anytime I go like cycling and I feel like the wind sweeping through my past my face, like I feel so fast playing Night Driver. It's crazy for what is just white posts like moving on the screen. It's like, oh my god, this is too fast. What's going on? Like it's in a good way as well, in a really interesting, fun way.
I think you didn't probably have the was there any kind of bonnet of a car in the version that you played that you could see?
No, but I've seen pictures of people and videos of people that have got the sticker sellotaped onto their arcade cabinet. Right?
It looks a lot harder. In fact, it is a lot harder without that sticker.
Does the sticker? Yeah.
Because the sticker doesn't move, but because it helps you point yourself in the right. It would be like
it sort of centers you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it. It would be like riding a bike but not being able to see your front wheel.
Yeah.
You don't really know if you turn the kind of handlebars. You don't know which way you're pointing. Obviously, you do because you just turn the hand, but you don't know where you're pointing. So it makes it much harder without that sticker. But it does feel very, very fast. And the idea was, stolen from him. But even though it was stolen, and we're not going to talk about these any other point in the future, so I'll just mention them now. He did, Dr. Forst did go on to create a bunch more Nürburgring simulators.
Okay.
So Nürburgring 1 was just the car going down the road. Nürburgring 2 instead was a motorcycle.
How do you know it's near? Oh, you Google it. It doesn't even spell. It's spelled Nur.
Yeah, so that's the kind of American pronunciation.
Okay.
But the second one was motorcycle inspired and had handlebars instead of a steering wheel. So that's one thing I didn't say. This has once again a physical steering wheel, gear shift, pedals, just like Speed Race and Grand Trek had.
Oh yeah, trying to play this on my computer with a regular controller, nightmare. I want the steering wheel.
But they swapped out the steering wheel for Nürburgring 2, and it was a motorcycle instead. And then the third game was in full color, and you could switch backgrounds.
Full color, like the actual game is black and white, like white post, black background. What do you mean by full color?
As in, you had selectable backgrounds, so you could choose between mountains or hills. So the mountains would be brown and have like white peaks, and the rolling hills would all be green.
I'm assuming that is just a fixed image, though. Then.
No. This is we're talking way in the future.
Oh, okay.
I just want to talk about it now because I want to show that he didn't give up, basically. And then the coolest one that he did was the Nürburgring power slide and the Nürburgring turntable. So the power slide, when you turned, the entire cockpit cabinet, rather than a standing up one, but you were in this cockpit, and when you turned the wheel, the entire cabinet would bank.
I mean, that sounds very modern arcades now. You've always got like some sort of motorbike or like car chair, and these things often move now in modern day arcades, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So but, I mean, it's just I do find it really interesting to see how simple the beginning ones of these games are.
Oh, definitely.
It's really fun as well. I was really surprised when I saw like, oh no, it's one of these stupid pretend first-person games. It was really fun. For a game that old, 1976. That's so long ago in games terms.
Yeah, I mean, the Night Driver was really fun, really, really fun. But
I don't know if you get gears in near, but because Night Driver has gears, and that you could like sort of start in 1 and then go up to 2, and you just go faster and faster the higher the gears you're in, because that's how gears work, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly the same. They're basically exactly the same game. The guy who was tasked with making Night Driver, like you said, he was given just a piece of paper with a picture of the Nürburgring game cabinet on it, and just a small portion of the screen that was visible. And then he's kind of quoted as saying that he says, "I don't recall if it was an actual flyer for the game or simply a photocopy of the front page of the flyer." He said, "I recall it being German, or maybe just being told it was a German game. I never saw any gameplay, nor did I know what scoring was used on that game, only that there were a few little white squares showing. With that little germ of an idea, out popped Night Driver. Now that just sounds like a lie because they're exactly the same game, and when he says that germ of an idea, he clearly means I stole that idea, and now we have our own game.
Do you want to know something funny?
Yeah.
So Night Driver is stolen from Nürburgring.
Yeah. Oh, sir.
But then there was also this scuffle between Outlaw and Gunfight, where Taito made Gunfight, and then Atari was like, we'll make Outlaw then. So Atari had Night Driver, and then later we have, well, it's not Taito, it's Midway, right? The company that is working with Taito to localize Taito games, released the same game as Night Driver in 1976 as well. Datsun 280 Zap. Exact same game.
Basically. Sorry, wait, no, did you just say the name of it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Datsun 280 Zap.
Why are you saying Zap?
Because it's Zap. I don't know if that's some racing term. I don't know anything about racing.
Wait, so it's DATSUN.
Like the brand, yeah.
Yeah. Then 200 as in the number.
280.
280 is in the number.
It's a car. I think Datsun 280 was a car, maybe?
Yep.
Was a car? I'm not sure.
And then they've just got the word Zap, but they've added 3 Zs.
Well, they've added 2 Zs. There are 3 in total. But it was like marketed with Datsun or based on Datsun or anything. But it was the same game. It's Night Driver, but by Midway rather than Atari. Essentially, the UI is different. The UI is different, and I'm sure the mechanics of the game are different, but it's the same white posts. You move through the white posts. You have gears to go up in speed. It's quite fast. So again, with Atari being like, here's Night Driver, Midway's like, well, here's Night Driver as well. It's like...
What? It's so weird because this is the point of nowadays you think all the games are done. It seems like nowadays it would be harder to come up with a completely unique concept because so much has been done that you kind of like, well, they copied someone else, so it's fine. But then there was literally, there's so many choices of games to pick that nothing has been done yet.
I think a lot of it's the technical limitations, right? Figuring out, hey, you can use these white posts and it sort of looks really good and makes it feel like you are driving down a road. It's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Like, once you figure that out, the effort of figuring that out is way higher than the effort required to implement that, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I suppose people didn't know what was even possible. So when someone comes up with this really, what seems like just a copy idea, it's like, well, I don't know what else I could have done because I just know that they've done that and I can do that.
Well, I think that's kind of funny that you say all games have done now. It's like the same mentality, right? Probably thought all games were done then.
It's like, well, we've done space and we've done table tennis and we've done basketball and we've done tanks and we've done cowboys. There's nothing else. Those are the 5 things that exist. Oh no, there's cars. Let's do cars.
I don't mean just like literal concepts, but you don't think so. 1976 is 45 years ago from now,
right?
You don't think in 45 years from now, you don't think they'll look back and be like, oh, how do they only have FPSs and RTSs? Like, there's going to be so much more in games in the next 40 years, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And then the amount of times that every game that comes out is either a first-person shooter or a third-person RPG. That's essentially most games at the moment. For like the past 10 years. So I think you can make the same arguments then and now. To be like, oh, why are you both coming up with the same idea for racing games? It's like, well, it's the same thing now.
Damn it, you're right. Everything is just a third-person adventure game.
They are. I like is Cyberpunk third person?
It's first person. The whole thing was that it's like Revolution was like it's a first-person RPG. But they just took both ideas and smashed them together.
Isn't Skyrim a first-person RPG?
Yes, it is. But you can also play third-person.
Right.
But Skyrim isn't a first-person shooter. Anyway, we're not at that point of the timeline yet.
It's okay. This is all getting cut anyway.
Cabinet review time for Night Driver.
Oh, I've not seen one.
Oh, okay. I haven't either. I'm not going to tell you about the cabinet for Nürburgring because it's not worth it. It's not pretty.
Wait, hang on. I'm pretty sure that Night Driver. Yeah, Night Driver had 2 different types of cabinets.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to say it. Yeah, it had 2. It had an upright and a cockpit.
A sitting down one.
Yeah.
Which makes it feel very proper arcade rather than beginning arcade, right? It's like you can
definitely, yeah.
And you're in a car. These look pretty much exactly what I imagined arcade cabinets to look like before we started this podcast. In that it looks very dated, futuristic, or like there's lots of neon colors, but they're sort of like faded neon colors.
Are they faded because of time, or were they faded then as well?
I reckon they were faded to some extent then.
Right, okay. Do you mean muted? Is that the term you're going?
Muted is a nicer word for this, right? Yeah. But it just looks very 80s/70s. Very bright colors, but not in a way that we'd use bright colors today.
What do you mean? How do we use bright colors today?
When I think of like bright colors now, I'm thinking. So if you think like, I don't know, like the Windows logo, right, or the Google logo.
Oh, so very colorful in terms of primary colors. Of you've got red, yellow, blue, maybe a green thrown in there.
Yeah, they're very clean. Like the colors are used very cleanly.
Yes.
Whereas these seem like a lot like in the 80s, and it's like it was more. I don't want to say dirty, but they weren't primary colors, right? So Night Driver is sort of a neon pink, but not really that neon, and sort of a neon yellow, but not really that neon, and sort of a neon purple, but not really a neon. And you've got what I think is a car that's driving towards you with the yellow and pink like streaks coming out the back of it.
Cool, very cool.
Placed on a black background. It just looks very almost Tron-like, but not clean enough to be like Tron. Do you want to have a look? You can help me here because I
No, okay, give me the front of the cabinet before I help you.
The front is yellow.
There's nothing around the screen?
There is so the bottom, so you've got the steering wheel. Because the steering wheel takes up a lot of space, so you lose quite a lot of stuff. There's nothing on the sides. So nothing on the left and right. Like normally on these
left and right of the screen, you mean?
Yeah, there's nothing on the left and right of the screen. It's just screen. So that beneath the screen is yellow. Above the screen is essentially the same car that's on the left and right of the entire cabinet. But it also says Night Driver. And the Night Driver, that's actually quite cool. The Night Driver on the front of the cabinet is not like a logo. It's almost like the car is on a racetrack, and Night Driver is one of the advertisements they put on the side of like a racetrack.
Whoa, that's cool.
But you can tell it's the side of the track that that the name is on because the car obscures some of it.
Oh, nice. And this is the upright version?
Yes.
Is there a difference in the cockpit version?
Yeah, so the cockpit version, a lot of it is spent on just the cockpit. So the upright one has lots of marketing and branding because it's an upright thingy. But the cockpit version, most of it's just plain black, molded like plain black in the shape of like a seat. And then there's nothing on the front above the screen or anything like that. Because there's no space above the screen. The sort of the top of the cabinet is the top of the screen, and there's just like some of the same logos on the left and right of it. But it's not all coloured. It's not pretty. It's functional.
I don't know why they would have done that. I'm gonna come and have a look. Whoa, this is awesome. I think you really undersold this.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how else I would describe it, but yeah, the upright one especially is really cool.
I've preferred the other arcade cabinets. Can you oversell it? Can you like balance my undersell?
No. Should we rate them?
Yes.
Okay. Starting with Gunfight.
Oh, this is getting more and more difficult to rate games. So we have to rate based on for the time and also compared to modern games. And compared to modern games is basically bad, right? No matter what, no matter how good they are, they're still pretty bad. But for the time, Gunfight, I would actually say this is probably just like a 5, because I think that the Tank, which is a very similar game that came out the year before, was better.
What? No. No, you're wrong. When we did Pong, we rated Pong like a 10 or like a 9.
Yeah? You think I'm being way too, I'm getting more strict as time goes on?
Yeah, I think that you are...
No, but Tank is just a better version of it, I think.
I think that this is a better Pong.
It's nothing like Pong.
It is, you except for you aim for the paddle.
No, it's nothing. What would you rate Gunfight?
I really liked Gunfight.
Give me a number.
For the time, I would probably rate it a 9.
Oof.
Actually, I'm gonna say an 8 because I want to save my 9.
Do we only get 1 9 per episode, do we?
No, I'm thinking about it, and I think that there is a game in this list that is better than I'm going to give Gunfight a 7.
7? You've come so far down after.
I know, because I'm thinking about the other games that are to come, and I'm comparing it to those, because obviously all come. We've got to think about if it's for the time. So in 1975, like what was around, like what was there, and
Tank
was there. The games that I'm thinking of comparing it to in my mind aren't yet there. So I'm
going to go higher in rank.
Yeah. So because it's getting a bit complicated, but I'm gonna go back to 8.
Okay, all right. You've convinced me to move up to a 6.
Okay, so 7 overall.
Okay, and for
That's
the time,
that. I just want to say, good job, Gunfight, because I think that's the first time in a long time that a game has gone above a 5.
For the time, no.
In my memory, which is very bad. For now, Gunfight is like a 3.
A 2.
Okay, 2.5.
The only reason that games like Gunfight aren't getting 1s is that I know how bad games were like in the 60s.
Yeah. It's almost going to end up being that a 1 to 10 isn't enough. I need like a 1 to 100, because I know that games are going to get so much better, but no game is going to be as bad as Empire.
I think that 1 to 10 is funnier.
So do I. So I just am making the statement that I wish we'd been given 100, but we haven't.
By ourselves. So 2.5 for now.
Yeah. Outlaw.
I think like the light gun is absolutely super cool, and I would give that. I'd give that a 9 out of 10 for the time.
Yeah, me too. I would give it a 9 out of 10 for the time too.
And for now, I would probably actually play this. Not for that long. Cost money. I'd probably give that a 3 out of 10 for now.
Interesting. You're saying that you would. What if you didn't have to pay money for it?
It's 3 out of 10 still.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
I'm rich enough now that I can afford 25 cents or whatever.
Oh, but inflation.
Yeah, but if you had the coin cabinet, it would still require 25 cents, right? Yeah. I just mean that when you're a kid, money's a lot, right? Like,
money is 25 cents is a lot when you're a kid.
And now it's like, oh, well, sometimes I find that on the floor. Well, not cents, but.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3 too. Yeah, I'd give it a 3 as well.
A 3 too.
Okay. 3 as well for now. 9 for then.
I don't want to rate Nürburgring because I've not played it and I've not seen any footage of it.
I don't think we need to rate it because it's the same game as Night Driver.
I'm happy to rate Night Driver. For the time, I'd also give this a 9 out of 10.
So would I.
I was so impressed by it. Not because it's an amazing game, but I was going in thinking this is going to be garbage, and it was not.
No, and I think the other thing that I think really sets this apart for the time is the cockpit version.
What? Because it's got a stenciled sticker on it.
No. The fact that you're sat down.
Oh, I see.
Driving.
The sit-down version. I see.
The sit-down version makes a huge difference. From what I'm aware of, like Speed Race, Grand Track 10, you only had the upright versions. That doesn't feel like driving a car.
Yeah.
Now it feels like we're driving cars. 9 out of 10.
And for now?
Well, it's more fun. It's more fun than the others, but it's not so much more fun that it gets above a 3.
I'm actually thinking I put it on a 2. Since we banned point numbers, except when we average our 2 scores, I think it gets a 2.
Okay, then 2.5.
Okay, all right,
cool. That was a good selection of games.
I'm so happy to be in arcade. Like arcades are cool.
They are cool. I feel like we're in an arcade.
I don't.
Oh, well, maybe next time you will.
Maybe you should spend all your pennies on getting some arcade cases in physical real life.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
That's completely.
See you in 2 weeks' time. See, I got it this time.
Yeah, you did. Good for you. See you in 2 weeks.
Welcome to the evening news featuring me, Evan, and Jack.
Thank you. Today's headlines. Welcome to the Video Game Timeline Show.
I ruined your intro.
You did. That would have been so good as well.